Robert, could you close the doors? Yes, a bit. All right, top. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachari Jamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Vanachari Jamuna Tera Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivajagacharya Ashtottara Sadashi Śrīmad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Shil Haridas Thakur ki. Prem se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Se Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinatha Shyama Kunda Radha Kundi Giri Govardhana ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki. Shri Maipur Navadvip Dham ki. Shri Purushottam Chetra ki. Shri Ganga Mai ki jai. Shri Jamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi Maharani ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to C.C. Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Withdrawal of the Cosmic Creations. Chapter 17, the Lord agrees to become Aditi's son. Text number 10. Is that right? Okay, very good, very good. What's that? Loop. Ayu param vapurabhishtam atulya lakshmiya. Jobu rasa sakala yoga gunastri vargaha. Jnanam cha kevalam ananta bhavanti tushtat. Tvato nrinam kimu sapatna jayadirasihi. Ayu param vapurabhishtam atulya lakshmiya. Jobu rasa sakala yoga gunastri vargaha. Jnanam cha kevalam ananta bhavanti tushtat. Tvato nrinam kimu sapatna jayadirasihi. Ayu param vapurabhishtam atulya lakshmiya. Jobu rasa sakala yoga gunastri vargaha. Jnanam cha kevalam ananta bhavanti tushtat. Tvato Nrinam Kimu Sapatna Jaya Dira Sihi. Ayu Param Vapurabhishta Matulya Lakshmi. Gunastri Vargaha. Jnanam Chakevalam Ananta Bhavanti Tushtat. Tvato Nrinam Kimusapatna Jayadira Sihi. Ayu Param Vapurabhishta Matulya Lakshmi. Jo Rasa Sakala Yoga Gunastri Vargaha. Jnanam Chakevalam Ananta Bhavanti Tushtat. Tvato Nrinam Kimusapatna Jayadira Sihi. Ayu Param Vapurabhishta Matulya Lakshmi. Jo Rasa Sakala Yoga Gunastri Vargaha. Jnanam Chakevalam Ananta Bhavanti Tushtat. Tvato Nrinam Kimusapatna Jayadira Sihi. Ladies, Ayu Param Vapurabhishta Matulya Lakshmi. Jo Rasa Sakala Yoga Gunastri Vargaha. Jnanam Chakevalam Ananta Bhavanti Tushtat. Tvato Nrinam Kimusapatna Jayadira Sihi. Ayu Param Vapurabhishta Matulya Lakshmi. Jo Rasa Sakala Yoga Gunastri Vargaha. Anam Chakevalam Ananta Bhavanti Tushtat. Tvato Nrinam Kimusapatna Jayadira Sihi. Ayu, duration of life. Param, as long as that of Lord Brahma. Vapuhu, a particular type of body. Abhishtam, the goal of life. Atulya Lakshmihi, unparalleled opulence in material existence. Dyo, the upper planetary system. Bhuloka, Rasaha, the lower planetary system. Sakala, all kinds of. Yoga Gunaha, the 8 mystic perfections. Trivargaha, the principles of religiosity. The principles of religiosity. Economic development and sense gratification. Jnanam, transcendental knowledge, cha, and kevalam, complete, ananta, O unlimited one, bhavanti, all become possible, tushtat, by your satisfaction, tvataha, from you, Śrīnam, of all living entities, kim u, what to speak of, sapatna, enemies, jaya, conquering, adihi, and others, ashihi, such benedictions. O unlimited one, if your lordship is satisfied, one can very easily obtain a lifetime as long as that of Lord Brahma, a body either in the upper, lower or middle planetary systems, unlimited material opulence, religion, economic development and satisfaction of the senses, full transcendental knowledge and the 8 yogic perfections. What to speak of such petty achievements as conquering one's rivals? So there's no purport to this verse. But before I read on, I'll offer my pranams, I think. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Svapadantikam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gurim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Sri Gurum Dinatavinam. So, the context here is that after performing the what's it called? The Payobrata process of worship. Aditi has pleased Lord Vishnu. She's satisfied Lord Vishnu. And as a consequence, the Lord has appeared before her and is going to fulfill her requests, give her some benediction. And in the previous 2 verses, Aditi has described the Lord and his qualities, or his behavior and his qualities. And in this verse, she's making the point that if one is able to please Lord Vishnu, then anything can be achieved. Anything is achievable. And in one sense she's being critical of herself here, because effectively she's approaching the Lord to have her sons and the demigods reinstalled into their correct position, which is the context of all of this is that Bali Maharaj and the demons have usurped the position of the demigods. And so Aditi is naturally inclined towards her sons, and she wants to see her sons reinstated in their let's call it constitutional, their normal status, which has been usurped by the demons. And of course, the reason why this has taken place is because the demons are protected by the brahmanas, and they've performed sacrifices and penance such that their guru and the brahmanas, followers of Śrīmad have given them benedictions and blessings. They're protected effectively by the well-wishes and the favours of the brahmanas. And the fact, very important fact, that the demigods had offended Brihaspati, their guru, right? And so, one of the significant themes of this set of pastimes is the importance of adhering to the order of the spiritual master and pleasing the spiritual master, right? In order to be successful in whatever one does. One has to be disciplined and follow the order of the Guru. Prabhupada quotes earlier on, what is it? Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado yasya prasadan nagati gatopi. Right? If you don't please your spiritual master or act independently of the order of the spiritual master, then one will be unsuccessful in whatever they do. Right? And one of the reasons why Aditi has successfully had a darshan of Lord Vishnu is because she followed the principle of following the order of the spiritual master, and also in her case the instructions of her husband Kashyapa, who effectively is her guru for all intents and purposes. And so because she stuck very strictly to the Payabrata Jagya, I think it's fasting for 12 days, performing certain rituals in the morning, and only drinking milk. Right? But strictly under the guidance or under the order of her husband, Kashyapa Muni. Right? And so, because the Lord is favourably inclined towards his devotees, right, then he's appeared to fulfill the desires of Aditi, which in one sense is material, actually. But it's interesting. If we go back and look at text 8, right, we find Aditi is offering prayers. Sri Aditir Uvacha. And there's 2 verses, well, 3 verses, the 10 that we are reading now, and 8 and 9. So it's very interesting. In the text 8, it's mentioned. You are Jagya Isha, controller of all sacrificial ceremonies. Jagya Purusha, the person who enjoys the sacrificial ceremonies. You are infallible. Right? Tirthapada, at whose lotus feet stand all the holy places of pilgrimage. So wherever Krishna goes, that place becomes a place of pilgrimage. Just like Radha Vallabha is here. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are here. Jagannath, Balaram, Subhadra here. And so people come from all over the planet to have a darshan of Krishna, Radha Krishna in Melbourne, right? Because it's a tirtha. Krishna is here. And so because of Krishna's presence, effectively because of Prabhupada's presence, because Prabhupada invited Krishna to come here. But as a consequence, the activities that are performed within the temple are purely dedicated to serving Krishna. And so the place becomes a sacred, it's a sacred place as a consequence. Tirtha Shravaha, he's celebrated as the ultimate shelter of all saintly persons. Shravana Mangala, by hearing about him, all auspiciousness is created. That's why when you walk in the gate at 197 Dank Street, you immediately feel the difference. People often comment, this is a special place. It's different. It's not the material world, it's the spiritual world. So, in part, that atmosphere is created because here only topics of Krishna are discussed. Now here's Namadeya. To chant his name is also auspicious, as we know. Then Apana Loka Brijina Upasama. Right? Now this is an interesting one. You are the shelter of all poor, suffering, living entities. And then the next one, actually it's part of this one. And you have appeared to diminish their suffering. Right? Krishna is the shelter, and he diminishes the suffering of his devotees. Right? So it's not incongruous, or it's not inappropriate for Krishna to appear to satisfy the desires of his devotee. Right? In fact, Krishna says, Paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya chaduskritam. I appear to protect, to please, to satisfy the devotees. And vinasaya taduskritam, to destroy the demons, right? The duskrita, which literally means the bad doers. Dharma samstapanataya, I appear to establish religious principles. Right? So, Aditi has described the Lord as being the one who is the shelter for anybody who's suffering in the material world, and one who relieves the suffering of the devotees, right? Or, well, anybody who wants to serve the Lord, or even anybody who wants to take shelter of him. The Lord is inclined to protect and act on the behalf of such devotees. So, even though Aditi's prayers are, there's something of a material motivation, right? Still, because she's a devotee and her desires are dovetailed with Krishna's, and dovetailed in such a way so they're pleasing and satisfying to the Lord, then the Lord will reciprocate with such a devotee. In the second canto of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada points out, akama savakama va moksha kama udaradi, that the Lord is inclined, especially tivrena bhakti yogena, one who's focused on devotional service or bhakti, with a desire to please the Lord, even if they have other desires, right? Akama, they may be desireless, or sarvakama, they got all material desires. If they engage in activities that are pleasing and satisfying to the Lord, then Krishna will reciprocate with them. Krishna reciprocates with the devotees, even if they have some material inclination. Right? More advanced is a devotee who's happy simply to serve. The exemplars of that mood are the residents of Vrindavan. Krishna's mother and father, Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda, the gopis and the gopas, and Krishna's friends, and the young damsels of Vrindavan, the gopis, headed by Radharani and Lalita and Vishaka, whose desire to serve Krishna is simply to make Krishna happy. Right? Their desire is to make Krishna happy. They're happy when Krishna is happy. Even Srimati Radharani says, if my unhappiness makes Krishna happy, then I'm happy. Right? So, it's interesting here that the Lord appears for Aditi, even though Aditi, her main focus is, let my sons be reinstated as the rulers of the universe. Right? Which is basically a material aspiration. But natural too, by the way. All mums like to see their sons looked after and protected and successful. Right? You want to see your sons successful? Huh? It's an investment. My mum was happy. One of the things that my mum would always ask me, are you being fed well? Right? Do you sleep warm at night? These are the big two. Are you getting a decent feed, and do you sleep at night? So, natural for Aditi to be inclined towards her sons, who broadly are devotees, right? But what we might call sakam bhaktas, devotees whose desire is to serve the Lord but also have other aspirations. And so not pure devotees. So, yeah. And so she, and her prayer is in verse 8, please be kind to us and spread our good fortune. Let us be materially successful, basically. That's what she's asking for. Yeah. A name for Krishna here, Dinanatha, right? The Lord of the fallen, or the Lord here. The translation is the only shelter of the downtrodden. Right. So interesting. And then in the next verse, there's more description of the qualities and the character and the activities of the Lord. These prayers are fairly consistent. Whether it's Lord Shiva offering the prayers, it's the prachetas, it's the Lord Indra or Lord Brahma. The descriptions of the Lord's behavior or activities and the descriptions of his qualities or characteristics are consistent. So then, as a result, she's describing here in this chapter that if the Lord is pleased, if Krishna is pleased, then anything is achievable by anyone. And so, and she's saying here, you can get a lifetime as long as that of Lord Brahma, which is effectively the duration of the universe, right? You can get a body, you can reside anywhere you like, upper planetary systems, middle planetary systems, lower planetary systems. You can have unlimited material opulence. You can satisfy all of the purposes of religion, economic development, and sense gratification, and be endowed with full transcendental knowledge. Well, along with that, you can also gain the 8 mystic yoga perfections. Right? What to speak of such petty achievements, which is what she's asking for, right? And why she's kind of criticizing herself here, as conquering one's rivals. So there's so many things you can get by satisfying the Lord, but all I want is a little thing. I'm an insignificant devotee. I don't want any of these big things. I just want to destroy my enemies. Anybody here prayed to Krishna to destroy their enemies? Yep. What happened? Okay, let's move on. Sukadeva Goswami said, so Aditi is offering prayers after she's performed the Payabrata sacrifice, and she's done it very strictly. She's followed the orders of her guru with focus and attention, which is interesting because, sometimes we think that, or it's described how yogic practice requires strong concentration, strong attention to detail, focus. And it is important. But of course, that focus and attention has to be on the instruction of the spiritual master. And really, it's the pleasing of the spiritual master that's most important, rather than, the strength of yogic practice. The strength of yogic practice, according to Bhakti Yoga, is to pay attention to and strictly adhere to the order of the spiritual master. Not necessarily, sitting on a block of ice in wintertime, or, enduring the heat of the sun in the summertime, which requires effort and focus and dedication and the like, right? But, austerity or even, study of the scripture, or even just following all of the rules and regulations. One has to understand the purpose of the activities recommended by the spiritual master, ultimately for pleasing Krishna. And if we're performing our activities with Krishna's pleasure in mind, then automatically the spiritual master will be happy, the devotees will be happy, and one will receive benedictions. And even material benefits. Right? It's not the reason why the pure devotees approach the Lord and render service, but it's a byproduct, if you like, that one's material distress is relieved, that one is given material facilities. But not always. And of course a devotee doesn't mind. With or without material facilities, they're happy to consider, to continue devotional service. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama jamani jamanishvare bhavatad bhakti ahoitiki tvai. Lord Chaitanya prays. Nadanam, I don't want wealth. Najanam, I don't want followers. Nadanam najanam nasundari. Handsome, beautiful company. Don't want these things, because ultimately those things don't make us happy. There are plenty of people who have got lots of money, but they're miserable. Even wealthy, lots of friends, but depressed. It's very common, actually. There's a new occupation that I see present on people who want to be my friends on Facebook, right? And they call themselves content creator. But it's not unusual for some of the most successful content creators with huge followings to be completely miserable, right? And suffering mental health issues. Because these things ultimately don't satisfy us. So, Sukadeva Goswami said, "O King Parikshit, best of the Bharat dynasty, when the lotus-eyed Lord, the supersoul of all living entities, was thus worshipped by Aditi, he replied as follows." Again, no no purport. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Deva Mata Bhavatya Me. So Deva Mata, what's that? Deva Mata. Yes, the mother of the demigods. I have already understood your long-cherished desires for the welfare of your sons. Right, so he didn't say, this is not a pure, this is not pure devotional service. What are you doing? He said, I already understood that this was the purpose for your worshipping. Who have been deprived of all opulences and driven from their residence by their enemies. This is a description of the setting where Bali Maharaj, the king of the demons, is in control. Right? And he's booted the demigods out of the heavenly planets and taken over. So, very interesting. Prabhupada says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, and especially in the hearts of his devotees, is always ready to help devotees in adversity. Anybody experiencing any adversity here today? No. Huh? Not now. No. You don't experience any adversity when you're in the Bhagavatam class. Unless you're falling asleep, I suppose. Huh? Since he knows everything, he knows how things are to be adjusted. And he does the needful to relieve the suffering of his devotee. Interesting, huh? He knows all of our trials and tribulations. He knows what Aditi's real purpose is for worshipping him. Right? She wants her sons to be re-established as the kings of the universe. Right? And it's really interesting, isn't it? You see, Aditi is worshipping the Lord to get some material benefit. But who ultimately is glorified the most in these pastimes? Yes, but that's not, that's true of the whole Bhagavatam. But there's one person, Bali Maharaj. Yeah, Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj is a demon. Right? He's a Daitya. He's a demon. Or at least ostensibly or externally, he appears as a demon. Right? But actually, when... And it's very interesting how this takes place. Let's read on. O Devi, O Goddess, I can understand that you want to regain your sons and be together with them to worship me. Right? So even though the desire is to get the heavenly kingdom back and their position of authority and control within the universe, part of that role is to worship the Lord, right? And so because there's that connection with the Lord, then he's reciprocating with these devotees, or with Aditi specifically. After defeating the enemies in battle and retrieving your abode in opulences, right? So this is her desire. She wants to be with her sons and worship the Lord and defeat their enemies, her son and hers enemies, right? And get their abode and opulences back. So it's mixed. They're mixed devotees. They're not pure devotees. But still, Krishna's appearing. Interesting. You want to see the wives of the demons. Now listen to this. This is just nasty. Right? This is just nasty. You want to see the wives of the demons lamenting for the death of their husbands. Right? When those demons, the enemies of your sons, are killed in battle by the demigods, of whom Indra is the chief. Huh? Not pure devotee. Listen, huh? This is how come Krishna looks after us. Because he reciprocates with all of the devotees. Even if we have a desire to eat all the maha, right? Pure devotee distributes the maha to everybody else. A materialistic devotee makes sure he's got his own stash. Right? You know, Korma used to call those devotees the Kanasta Adhikari, the Tiffin Adhikari. Whereas a very advanced devotee gives the prasadam to everybody else. Yeah. So, and this is Lord Vishnu, this is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. You want your sons to regain their lost reputation and opulence and live again on their heavenly planet as usual. No purports here, all pretty straightforward. And this is why this is ironic, right? They're praying to the Lord to get their material facilities back, right? Whereas when Bali Maharaj is requested, right, he gives up everything. He gives up everything. Right? So there's a what do you call it? A juxtaposition between the mood of Bali Maharaj and the mood of Aditi and the demigods. That's interesting to note. But interesting that actually, as is described here by Aditi, Krishna knows how to satisfy and to reciprocate. He's infallible, and he always reciprocates with his devotees. Achyuta, infallible. And so he's always interacting and working for the benefit of his devotees. And so even though ostensibly or externally, Bali Maharaj is appearing as if he's a demon, actually he's a devotee. Very famous, he's one of the Mahajans. Right? Now, here's a really interesting point. You know, Krishna, Lord Vishnu, can do anything that he wants at any time, right? He's all powerful. But what does he say to Aditi? Very interesting what he says. O mother of the demigods, in my opinion, almost all the chiefs of the demons are now unconquerable. Right? They've still got the upper hand because they've pleased Śrīmad and they're blessed by the Brahmanas, and also the demigods are still suffering from their reactions for offending Brihaspati. Very interesting. Right? So even though Krishna can do anything he likes, what does he say? Oh, hang on, we need to wait a bit. And so, you know, in one sense, he's being very tricky here. Right? He also knows how to cheat. Right? In my opinion, almost all the chiefs of the demons are now unconquerable, for they are being protected by brahmanas, right? Whom the Supreme Lord always favours. Right? Now, he is the Supreme Lord. Right? But he's saying, hang on, the demons are being protected by the brahmanas. So even Krishna can't override the protection or the favour of the brahmanas. And Prabhupada explains that here. Thus, the use of power against them now will not at all be a source of happiness. Interesting, huh? Purport. When a person is favoured by brahmanas and Vaishnavas, no one can defeat him. Right? So the only reason why we're here and successful is because we're favoured by the brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. Right? Think about that. We wouldn't be here at all if it wasn't for the blessings of the Vaishnavas and the Vaishnav brahmanas. Even the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not interfere when one is protected by a brahmana. It is said, Go brahmana hitaya cha. The Lord's first inclination is to give all benedictions to the cows and brahmanas. Therefore, if brahmanas favour someone, the Lord does not interfere, nor can anyone interfere with the happiness of such a person. Is that far out or what? That's pretty far out. So make sure that you're always protected by the brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, and then you're invincible. But that doesn't mean you can be a nonsense. And in any case, Krishna will make an arrangement so that you'll be rectified. Or, Krishna knows how to straighten everybody out. I'm going to keep going because there's a few more verses here that don't have any purports, and it's an interesting. It's a segue. It's the scene in the Bhagavatam is moving towards the appearance of who? Vamanadev. Yeah. And it's through the Lord's appearance as Vamanadev that actually he's able to defeat Bali Maharaj. Right? And then rectify the imbalance in the universal affairs. Yet, because I have been satisfied by the activities of your vow, O Goddess Aditi, I must find some means to favour you. Right? Ye yata mam prapadyante. Right? What's the next line? Sam stataiva bhajanti mam, isn't it? Yes. As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Right? So Krishna reciprocates with his devotees and protects them, looks after them. For worship of me never goes in vain, but certainly gives the desired result according to what one deserves. So this supports that verse of the Bhagavad Gita, right? As they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path. They're either going towards Krishna or away from him. It's a two-way street. But if one is going towards Krishna, then Krishna is coming towards you. Do you feel it? No, don't. You mean he's abandoned you? No. It's just that we don't deserve. But Krishna is inclined towards his devotees. He's Bhaktivatsala. He loves his devotees. He loves the Vaishnavas. What is it? I am in the heart of the Vaishnavas, and the Vaishnavas' heart is in me, right? Krishna's always thinking of the devotees. The devotees are always thinking of Krishna, and Krishna is always thinking of his devotees. But depending on our surrender, that will determine the reciprocation that we get from Krishna. And even sometimes, Krishna withholds his reciprocation to deepen the love and affection of the devotee. Krishna is infallible, and he knows how to reciprocate in any circumstance, in any situation, for the benefit of the devotee. He knows what's best for everyone. You have prayed to me and properly worshipped me by performing the great Payobrata ceremony for the sake of protecting your sons. So natural, this is just very natural for a mother to protect her children. Because of Kasyapa Muni's austerities, I shall agree to become your son and thus protect your other sons. Really interesting. Always thinking of me as being situated within the body of your husband, Kasyapa, go worship your husband who has been purified by his austerity. A proviso here for the ladies, not all husbands may be as qualified as Kasyapa Muni. So, buyer beware. But you know, Kasyapa is very elevated Vaishnava. And so, what happens next is a revelation of that fact. This is, again, no purport. We'll keep going. Oh lady, even if someone inquires... Oh no, this is an interesting one. Interesting instruction. Even if someone inquires, you should not disclose this fact to anyone. That which is very confidential is successful if kept secret. So what is to be kept confidential? What is to be kept confidential? Sorry? No. Oh, yes. Yes, could be. But the previous statement was... Yeah, okay, yes, you're right. Yes. You should not disclose this fact to anyone that he will become her son. Right? Yep, that's right. Now Sukadeva Goswami is speaking. After speaking in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead disappeared from that very spot. Aditi, having received the extremely valuable benediction that the Lord would appear as her son, considered herself very successful, and with great devotion she approached her husband. We'll read next 3-4 verses here. Being situated in a meditational trance, Kasyapa Muni, whose vision is never mistaken, could see that a plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead had entered within him. That's it. Come back tomorrow for verse 23, which has got a purport, but I'm not going to read it today. Okay, any comments or questions, any thoughts on this sequence of events that have taken place?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, I seek clarification on 2 points. One is how demons are getting power or blessings when their intention is wrong.
How?
How demons are getting...
Well, see, in proof of the principle that if you adhere to the instruction of your guru and you get the blessings of the brahmanas, you can be powerful, even if you're a demon. Right? This is the principle that's being underlined here. The other factor is, how were they able to conquer the demigods? Because the demigods broke that principle by offending Brihaspati. Right? Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Second one is there anything wrong in praying to Lord for destroying enemies instead of protecting from enemies?
Usually a devotee will see any impediment or any difficulty as a reaction to their own past misdeeds, right? They won't blame the agent of their karma for their suffering. They'll accept the responsibility for the suffering as being precipitated or caused by themselves, by their own misbehavior, not necessarily the agent of that karma. Does that make sense?
Just say it again, please.
A devotee will think, their attitude, their mood will be, I'm suffering as a result of my own misdeeds. And the person or the circumstance, the arrangement by which that suffering is experienced is not to blame. So they accept responsibility for the reactions of their past activities. Yeah. So, and so therefore, you know, you may be my enemy, but you're not the cause of my suffering. The cause of my suffering is my previous indiscretions. Yeah.
Thank you.
So therefore, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarore Vasahishnuna, very tolerant and respectful to everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hand it over to Chandrarekha. She's next. Or at least she's the one that I saw first.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for the class. I might be jumping ahead, but could you please elaborate on the fact that Bali Maharaj didn't obey the instructions of his spiritual master when Vamanadeva came? And so, how that...
Good one.
Yeah,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, but he was successful when he did follow his spiritual master, right? Except when the spiritual master told him not to serve Lord Vishnu. And so then he wasn't his spiritual master anymore, right? He abdicated the role of guru by saying, don't surrender to Lord Vishnu, right? So therefore he wasn't his guru anymore, and he was smart enough to know this is wrong, right? And also, keeping in mind, the Lord had appeared as a brahmana, right? And the fact that he was a Lord also, but he had appeared as a brahmana, and he had instructed him to surrender everything, right? And so the principle is actually maintained, right? It's actually reinforced. Śrīmad was no longer his guru, and Vamanadev was. He obeyed him. He got... And the interesting thing is, though, he was punished. But he was sent to Patala Loka and tied up by the chains of somebody, Vasuki, yeah. And but Bali Maharaj had the association of Vamanadev, who appeared as his doorkeeper. So Vamanadev became his servant. This is Krishna's, the amazing quality of Krishna is he becomes a servant of his devotee. Krishna and Arjuna's relationship is a good example. Sudama.
Oh, yeah. Just when you mentioned how Lord is known as Dinanath.
Dinanath.
Yeah, he's a shelter of a downtrodden.
Yeah.
Is that a given, or is it only if the if a downtrodden approach the Lord, or is he always the shelter of a downtrodden?
Well, that other description of his personality, in that he always knows how to respond in every situation, right? In every circumstance. So even though it might appear that he's not reciprocating with the devotee, if one explores the circumstance more deeply and closely, it will be revealed that he is. Yes.
But I'm thinking more about the downtrodden, like pretty much there's so many, like the jivas in the material world, there's so many souls who are in a position of being downtrodden, who are suffering.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Are they given the shelter of the Lord? Or?
They might not be devotees. If they're not devotees, then...
They don't get it.
No. They get more suffering, which is also mercy. Right? Also...
And also Krishna's, in the purport is mentioned how he's especially he's inclined to the Brahmanas and the cows.
Yep.
I know this is a little bit mundane.
Yeah,
but
they're killing the cows.
there's so much cow killing. Like, why isn't that stopped? Why is that going ahead? Sometimes you wonder.
We're living in the age of controversy, Prabhupada says. I was reading somewhere, can't remember this morning, 2 o'clock this morning. I was wide awake at 2 o'clock this morning. It's amazing how you can survive on so little sleep. But yeah, interesting, Prabhupada says, we're living in the age of controversy. So highly controversial. Why is it that society and members of society, even the leaders of society, perpetrate such suffering on others, and still they remain, in positions of prominence, of influence, of power? And I think, we know that it's temporary. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. Prabhu, you mentioned how when the spiritual master is pleased, then Krishna is automatically pleased.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask, what is that one most important quality that the spiritual master is pleased by seeing it in his
You have to ask
disciples?
him. Different spiritual masters might have different requirements, and dependent on you too. Huh? Like, you know, we got a proposal the other day that before a devotee can be initiated, they have to have read all of Srila Prabhupada's letters to know, to know Prabhupada. But the letters are probably the worst thing to know Prabhupada by, because they're all very specific for individuals and for circumstance, for context, right? But a better authority is Prabhupada's books, right? I read an interesting thing in one purport yesterday or the day before. Prabhupada says, everybody over the age of 12 should be initiated. How old are you?
13.
Huh?
13. 13.
13, okay. Time to get cracking. Huh? Interesting, huh? And Prabhupada was saying actually that one should be engaged in deity worship. And he says deity worship is practical devotional service. And reading of books, study of books is theoretical. If you want to put the the theory into practice, worship the deity. Right? And Prabhupada didn't mean, now we need to have a big temple everywhere so that people can worship the deity. He meant worship the deity at home. Yeah. So, be initiated at the age of 12, or in other words, when one is approaching youth, effectively, and then under the guidance of the spiritual master, worship the deity for practical realization of our bhakti process. Really interesting, actually. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's what you have to do, but you need to... What's that?
The Bhāv was initiated when he was 9.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think everybody was doing it then. But, so what is it that pleases the spiritual master will be applied according to the candidate. Yeah. But in Prabhupada's, in following Srila Prabhupada, what pleases Prabhupada? What pleases Prabhupada?
That we read his books and then preach it on to others.
I still didn't hear you.
That we read his books and then
Read his books.
and give it to others as well.
Give them to others. That'd go a long way, I would think, yes. But then worship the deity. In our situation, slightly different. Those of us who live near to a temple, we have Radha Vallabha, so we can worship the deities here. Whereas, if you live a little further away from the temple, coming to the temple might be difficult, is difficult, according to the distances that need to be travelled. So worship the deity at home. Right? So, What about good japa? Would that please the spiritual master, you think? Yeah. So it's more than one thing. That's the interest, when I was a 2 or 3 year old devotee, I'd always be listening to classes and reading the books thinking, there's a key here, got to find the key that'll unlock the door and I'll be in Vaikuntha. And then I've discovered that everything, it's all the key. It's not one thing, but it's many things. And that's why we have 9 items of devotional service. And that's a broad categorization of all the 64 items, effectively, right? There's 64 items that are recommended by Rupa Goswami. And so we're given a combination of each one of us is given a different combination of those 64 items of devotional service to keep us engaged and connected to Krishna effectively. Okay, I need to go. 3 minutes ago I should have been in a meeting. Okay, Grantharaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Aditi Mataji ki jai. Bali Maharaj ki jai, later on.